I have a very outlandish theory. It's very far-fetched, but I want you to entertain me for a sec, right? Just entertain my insanity. Something tells me that Ramaphosa is orchestrating all of this, including gating everything that's currently happening. Something really tells me that Ramaphosa is behind it. And hear me out. I know it's crazy. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Right. Firstly, the reason why I say this, right, is if you look at the mechanisms of what make up a case from the point where it's an investigation till you actually prove, right? There's three things that are very essential in any judicious process, right? In order for you to prove a case, you need three things. You need the motive, you need the intent, as well as the opportunity, right? Here's my three that justify this outlandish theory. Doesn't really justify it because justified means that I'm very committed to that theory and I believe it's true. I'm also just as skeptical about it, but it's just staring at me right there. Just it's flirting with me is what I'm trying to say. Here's what I mean by this, right? Think about it. Let's look at the sequence of events that's currently taking place. If you look at South Africa as a whole, we currently, I think this is from February 2023, we were graylisted by the FATF. Don't ask me, it's in Financial Action Task Force or something. Some like it's yeah, around that. So it's an international organization that assesses a country's ability to identify money laundering or its risk to money laundering and corruption and all forms of things that could, in a way, negatively affect the country's image, right? So it's that institution. They grey listed us in 2023. We are currently being investigated on our possibility of being removed out of that grey listing because it does affect us from an investment attraction perspective. It does work against us in the sense of gaining up investment opportunity, tourism, all of these things. It does have an effect, right? Here's the opportunity that I'm looking for at that maybe Ramaphosa might be identifying. Imagine you being investigated and you get given an opportunity to show how well you can handle this corruption. Think about it. Think about it. Right. This works perfectly for Ramaphosa. Number one, it's very early within his second administration. He's still facing 2029, and again, okay, let me actually not get to that part for now. He's still facing 2029, so this is a very this is a very early fix for him to pivot and fix everything that he needed to fix. Let's understand. No matter how much we can disagree on this point, Ramaphosa has had a valid interest in cleansing the corrupt elements within the ANC. That has always been his modus operandi, from the Zondo Commission to getting the DA and putting the DA in strategic positions that are somewhat compromised through corruptions. The ministers that he appointed from externally to manage those different departments, those are departments that were inundated with corruption and corrupt officials. So it was strategic. He did that on purpose. If you look at what's currently happening right now, he understood that if he was to tackle the DA, so if he was to tackle corruption in the second administration himself, he was not going to be successful. And if you look at, I think with what I mentioned with what I mentioned the previous post, that is most corruption in the ANC also is from KZN. And we all know if you're in politics in South Africa, you need to make sure you tread carefully with anybody that is KZN, that owes their roots to KZN, because KZN can really cause damage to your political career. He learned that in his first administration. Here's my theory. This for Ramaphosa was a perfect opportunity for him to cleanse, finally, the corrupt elements without really having his fingerprints on the gun. It was an opportunity for him to cleanse the ANC really of the corruption that is left within the ANC and purge it out. And how is doing so, he's using other political parties, because the motive is to cleanse the ANC off of these corrupt elements. How he intends to do so is, again, he didn't have to appoint all of the opposition parties. He's intending to cleanse it out using opposition parties, your Julius Malema and everybody that he's selected. The maximum transparency is to say, look, you guys are going to help us clean out this mess within the ANC. That way, his fingerprints are not in the gun. I feel like he's orchestrating everything. And again, this is an outlandish theory, but if you look at all three aspects, it does meet the motive, and that is to cleanse the ANC of the corrupt elements. How he intends to do so is using opposition parties. The opportunity, I feel, is the FATF's investigation. Because what better way of showing that you are actually serious about tackling corruption and actually doing something about tackling corruption when you are being audited? You are literally performing when it's the most necessary. Because as the FATF is going to now understand, okay, this is how South Africa manages cases that are corrupt or cases that have money laundering in them. This was the best way you can actually manage it. And I feel as though all three boxes have been ticked. Again, maybe it's just my brain going crazy. I don't know.